Thank you for joining us for this session on the college application process, brought to you by the Stevenson University admissions team. In this presentation, we'll take you through the different sections of our application process, important deadlines, and what we're looking for in an applicant. We'll also give you some tips and pointers on the essay, and finally, we'll leave you with some do's and don'ts when it comes to your application package. Let's get started. There are many ways you can apply to a college. For example, there are two methods for students to submit online applications to Stevenson, either using the Common Application or SU's online application. Now, not all schools operate this way. Some schools might be on Coalition, which is a different application platform, or they might only accept applications through their website. Stevenson requires an official copy of your high school transcript. Typically, this is submitted by your school's counseling or registrar's office. It can be submitted electronically, by email, or more rarely through fax or even mail. We also require a short response question and essay. The short response question is 100 words, and we ask you to explain to us why you would be a good fit at Stevenson and how you will contribute to our community. There are several different essay topics to choose from, and we will go more in depth about the essay in this presentation. Stevenson is test optional for fall 2021 applicants. If a student wants to submit SAT or ACT scores, they can, but it is not required. Letters of recommendation are also optional to submit. Make sure to double check the application requirements for the colleges you plan on applying to, because each may be slightly different. What you are looking at here is our student profile from this past fall's freshman class. While we do not have minimum requirements for admission, it is always good to know a school's average profile. It's a helpful way to figure out what your reach, target, and safety schools are. At Stevenson, our average weighted GPA was a 3.54. You'll see our SAT and ACT score ranges were taken from the middle 50%, which means that most of our students scored within these ranges. As a reminder, we do not require test scores for fall 2021 applicants. When it comes to the essay, it is probably the most widely contested parts of the application. It can be incredibly ambiguous, which is why some students agonize over choosing the absolute best topic. You will probably get a lot of different information from varied sources about how to approach and tackle the essay. And while it's important to note that usually every school handles the essay portion a little bit differently, here are a few pointers from us that should help you as you work through your essay. Choosing a topic can be pretty stressful. I mean, your entire essay rests on this. When deciding on a topic, it is recommended that you choose something you are passionate about, something that you can craft an engaging story around. Some of the most compelling and engaging essays that we have read have been about seemingly mundane topics, but the story that was created involved passion, engagement, and creativity. For example, a pair of shoes, a zip code, a drive-by shooting. These have all been topics of admissions essays, but the one that stood out the most was the essay about the zip code. The student was able to take a seemingly boring topic and spin it in such a way that we were drawn in from the first sentence. So when you're deciding on a topic, take a moment to consider the mundane. Look closely at the areas of your life where you're most passionate. What do I love? What do I hate? How can you tell us a story that we might not have heard before? Asking yourself these questions can help guide you toward a stellar topic choice. The length of the essay varies from institution to institution. We advise that you look closely at the length requirements for the school you're applying to. We would also encourage you to have at least one full page at the end of your essay. Finally, as mentioned before, Each college is different, and some institutions may look closely at different aspects of the essay, such as grammar and word count, whereas others might not pay as close attention to these aspects. For us, we want you to craft an engaging story. We want to feel your passion, be drawn into your interests, and live through an experience with you. We do look at the grammar and how an essay is formatted. We want to ensure a student is college ready for the type of writing they will experience at this level, and the essay is a window of assessment for us to look through. So choose your topic wisely. Have someone you trust look it over for grammar and proofread it, because at the end of the day, we want you to produce a product that you can be proud of, and one that you can be confident will rise to meet the standards of any college you apply to. Now that we've talked about what to turn in to complete your application, let's discuss when everything is due. Stevenson uses a rolling admissions process, which means that our application opens on August 1st, and we will continue to accept and review applications throughout the academic year until March 1st. Once you have submitted all required application materials, you'll receive an admissions decision from us within 3 to 4 weeks. December 1st is the deadline for our Presidential Fellowship Full Tuition Scholarship, and it's the priority deadline for merit-based scholarship consideration. We automatically consider all applicants who apply to Stevenson before February 1st for one of our merit-based scholarships, which range from $12,800 to $20,800 per year. Consideration for these scholarships are based off your academic performance in high school, and they're a reward for 4 years of hard work. If you receive a merit-based scholarship, it will be listed on your acceptance letter. Therefore, if you apply by the priority deadline of December 1st, you should be hearing back about your admission to the university and potential merit-based scholarship by the start of the winter holidays. January 15th is the deadline for applying to our theater or visual arts scholarships, as well as the leadership and service scholars. These specialty scholarships will also be further discussed on the next slide. As mentioned, February 1st is the final deadline for freshman merit-based scholarship consideration. Lastly, March 1st is the final deadline for all freshman applicants. It's also the deadline to interview for the Founders Scholarship, which is another specialty scholarship that we'll discuss shortly. In addition to the merit-based scholarships that applicants are automatically considered for, students may be eligible to complete separate applications and/or interviews for our wide variety of specialty scholarships. Other than the Presidential Fellowship, each of these scholarships stack on top of any merit-based scholarship that the student would have received upon their acceptance to Stevenson. First is the Presidential Fellowship, which is our full tuition scholarship. Students must have a 3.7 cumulative GPA, weighted or unweighted, to apply. They must also submit a project as part of their application, answering our provided prompt in a thorough and creative way, and must have both the Stevenson application and the Presidential Fellowship application turned in by December 1st. We are excited to be able to offer full tuition to 10 outstanding applicants each academic year. This scholarship is very competitive, with about 150 students applying each year to those 10 spots. We narrow these applicants down to 50 finalists who interview in January and February, and the recipients are chosen by March 1st. Next are the Leadership Scholars and Service Scholars programs. If you are interested in building your leadership or service skills throughout your time in college, we encourage you to apply for these scholarship programs. We're looking for a GPA of 3.3, weighted or unweighted, and applicants must complete a specialty scholarship interview. The Theater Scholarship is audition-based, and the deadline, January 15th. The Visual Arts Scholarship is portfolio-based and also has a deadline of January 15th. We also request that applicants to the Visual Arts Scholarship complete an interview on campus. And finally, the Founders Scholarship is also interview based. We're looking for a 3.0 GPA, and the deadline is March 1st. As we wrap up our session, here are some do's and don'ts that we've compiled to help you organize your application package. First, do remember to proofread your entire application. It doesn't exactly sit well when we get an application addressed to Towson or Bowie. Make sure to look over every piece of your application before submitting it, and take your time. This might be the only chance you have to make a positive impression on the college you're applying to. Second, ask questions. This is our job. You won't find an admissions counselor who snubs their nose at too many questions. And if you do, maybe that's not the place for you. But seriously, ask any and all questions. Third, when we say use your resources, we don't mean just Google it. We're talking about the resources in your life. Talk with your admissions counselor. Talk with your school counselor, with your parents. Call up the financial aid office and ask to speak to a representative. Use the resources around you to set yourself up for success. Lastly, try to keep in mind that every school is different and be respectful of this. What might work for one school might be a no-no for another. It can be a sign of a lack of attention to detail, or a sign that a student just doesn't care enough to take the time to learn about each individual school. Our don't list is pretty simple. Don't procrastinate, and I'm going to leave it at that. And lastly, don't be embarrassed. If you think your situation is too much or too heavy to talk about, trust me, we are here to help. Don't be embarrassed to talk finances or about your personal situation. I'll say it again. We are here to help. So test us out. Ask 1,000,001 questions. Text us, email us, and call us all at the same time and see how we do. In fact, here's our contact information. We love what we do, and we want to meet you where you are in this process. And you know what? We also hope to see you on campus soon. Thanks so much for joining us.